And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. I know I say this a lot, but I really mean it today. I am super excited about this conversation. If you see on the screen right now, the person on the other side of that camera is Swammey. He's one of my favorite people in the hobby. He's super engaged with not just Pokemon, bunch of different TCGs. He definitely has his ear to the grindstone when it comes to current market conditions, current sentiment, stuff like that. And just all around super knowledgeable, super intelligent person, somebody I'm extremely happy to have a conversation with. He's been on my channel before. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, the description or the links down in the description below. But before we get into, the main topics of today's videos, Swami, first I want to just say thanks for coming on the channel. And what have you been up to? Anything fun in your life?
Well, I just exited the on accident completely, but no, my sister just had my nephew a couple days
Congratulations.
ago. That's been exciting. Uh, so really, that's all I've had on my brain. Work's going well, and yeah, I've been enjoying. I don't know if it was the national or what, but it seems like a lot of a lot of card stuff has come alive. Like a lot of people are, gosh, I've been on, so this is my third like stream today for cards.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I talked to my soccer buddy, soccer study I caught up with him a couple days ago. It's like people are uh, all about these cards right now. And I don't know what the reason is. Maybe the Nationals just like a coincidence, but I'll take it. I love cards.
Yeah. And you're into a lot of cards, man. And that kind of brings us into the first topic of today. And the topic is it's quality versus quantity. And what I mean by that is, I feel a lot of people recently have acquired pretty large collections in the last couple years, especially people who have recently entered the hobby, say 2020, the present. And one of the things that a lot of people are running into is I call it collection identity, meaning when you look at somebody's collection, there's really like a true identity to that. But eventually when people's collections get so large, they start to lose that collection identity. And then it's just they have a large quantity of cards, but maybe the quality or the rarity or the scarcity or the true chase for a lot of their collection is sometimes missing. Do you ever feel that, somebody like you who's into a ton of different TCGs, whether it's Marvel or Metazoo or Pokemon or whatever, do you ever feel that your collection is just a lot of quantity? And how are you able to differentiate the quality aspect versus the quantity aspect?
Um, to differentiate, like you always hear it all the time, like that'll go in a drawer and I'll never look at it. And those I think you gotta do something there with those. I think you gotta probably sell those. Because I do have a ton of cards, but I've been a lot better about going and looking at all my cards, and whether it's through binders is probably the easiest way.
Mm.
Even cards that you don't want to, they're too cool for you to throw away, but they're also not worth the time to sell. Make a binder out of it. You could spend like a whole Sunday, an afternoon on a Saturday, maybe your family's watching a movie and you just put a binder together. I do have that Pokemon verse PowerPoint, and we don't even have to go over it tonight, but that is my favorite Pokemon set to binder, just because you can play with it in all different ways.
Yep.
But in terms of like what I'm trying to buy, I am trying to buy both. I'm trying to buy in bulk for Marvel, because I feel like I want to see Marvel become more of a hobby, and I think grading is a big part of that. And so I have bought a lot of bulk that I don't plan on keeping.
But you plan to grade that first? And are you waiting for like maybe grade in tiers to drop a little bit? I know the lowest we saw was 18 recently.
Yeah. I think it's either PSA 10, 12, I think they can get below 18.
Oh yeah.
And then with CGC, a lot of it, I was planning to grade with CGC. Marvel has a lot of comic book type cover art on their cards. I think it would pair super well with the CGC graded comic book. You could have your card next to your comic book type thing. But they still aren't grading Marvel, only the Weiss Marvel.
How strong's the graded Marvel market right now? I mean, obviously you'll have to go with PSA if CGC is not graded.
Yeah, you got to go with PSA. I thought CGC, I think CGC is kind of dropping the ball on Marvel because they have such a big opportunity. The customer base is so familiar with Marvel and CGC already because of comic books.
Mm-hmm.
But PSA has been where everyone's been sending their cards to get graded, but literally there's nothing graded, right? I don't even think there's half of the amount of like just base set, right? And like it's like nothing. There's just nothing graded. And there's going to be tons and tons of Marvel cards, like hundreds of thousands, that'll eventually get graded over the years, but it's just nothing.
Yeah. So is that something you want to do? You want to try to like create a market, or maybe not create a market? Obviously that market already exists in a way, but do you want to be like, one of the very first adapters of that sort of market?
Yeah, I've wanted to do gem mint basically for Marvel.
That's a lofty goal for any hobby.
I know. But so I don't know when I got the idea. I started buying Marvel last year and I was like, man, Marvel's awesome. They've been making cards since 1990, and there's been a lot of years where the print runs were low because there wasn't too many people buying. But I looked at it and I go, well, why can't Marvel have a similar card market like Pokemon? Right now it's PMGs and that's about it. A lot of that residual money that Marvel card collectors selling PMGs to, the big dogs of the world have been able to go up and push up prices in other areas. Go ahead.
Yeah, and for everybody out there, you could just let them know what PMGs are. I know not everybody's familiar with the Marvel market or just that sort of trading cards.
Sure, it's a 1990s like basketball insert, and so they took Upper Deck used their 90s basketball insert that was pretty popular. It has different colors to it, right? It'll be the same artwork of Michael Jordan or the Marvel character. And then depending on the rarity, you'll have different colors. You'll have a base that's not numbered and it'll be like silver. And then it'll go to red out of 99, blue out of 50, green out of 10, bronze out of 199.
Yeah, and then the black, the 1 out of 1. That's the one you really want.
Yeah, they started doing black 1 of 1s 2018.
Okay.
Had golds which were out of 1. And I did have 1 green goblin. It might have been 2017. It was a 1 of 1 green goblin that I had bought when it was really cheap, just because I was like, wow, I've never owned a 1 of 1 before,
Sure.
And since I've sold that, but
what's the market on a card like that been like after you sold? Is it an upward trajectory or is it still pretty level?
I think I probably sold it at one of the peaks. I sold to I really don't have a number on that. So there was Aoki in the Marvel market earlier this year. And then there were 3 or 4 other venture capitalist type whales. I sold privately to one of them, that card. And it did really well. It did like 15K. And, but I have no idea if that was good or not. Because I think there was a gold that sold later. And I thought to myself, I remember thinking I was a little worried that maybe I let it go for too little, even though the market did seem hot. I think the market was hot for sure.
Yeah.
But
and so that's so kind of moving into that, coming out of like a really hot market, and you're not really sure exactly if, like you just mentioned, you're not sure if that card would actually sell for more right now today. Would it sell for less? Has the market cooled down? But at least when it comes to Pokemon, for a while there, you were definitely one of the people who were relatively vocal, saying, everybody just calm down a little bit with the buying. Don't overspend, especially don't overspend on modern stuff. This stuff is eventually going to get reprinted and stuff. And while at the time for a lot of this product, it felt as if, the world was ending, nobody could get product, everybody was sold out, prices were, skyrocketing at release. Who knew what the reprint schedule is going to look like? What was the Pokemon printers going to do? Just the million different conversations that were taking place in 2020, 2021. And you were definitely one of those people preaching like caution to everybody. Now, knowing where the market is right now today, seeing the retraces we're having, and I don't even say for a lot of stuff we've seen major retraces, where we've just seen a lot of more healthy prices for a lot of stuff, Do you feel like you've kind of had your I told you so moment, or are you kind of like pulled back a little bit where you don't want to say something like that?
well, I mean, it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think the Pokemon market's fine, right? I still wouldn't pay the exorbitant prices for some modern alt art card, right? To me, I always go back to the full art Alakazam with Lugia in the background.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
gold borders. That card's like $20 raw. Now it's not going to grade at 10 probably, but that's always been the case. With going back all the way back as far as I can remember, the first modern cards out on the market were always high, and then they come down.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things that may never change, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah, and that's not something that I'm going to sit here and try to change, right? And at the same time, I was telling people to wait, but I was trying to talk to the people that were really upset because the emotions were so high.
Sure.
And it seemed like the FOMO was so ingrained. But at the same time, it was tough to tell people just wait, just give it a couple years. It's like, well, but yeah, no, I think the Pokemon market's in a good spot.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think, and it's good spots, totally subjective when you talk to people in this hobby. It's like, what I think is healthy is, I think $100 booster boxes, $105 booster boxes at release, I think that is a healthy price, meaning there's enough demand in the market where you can still keep those things at $100. There's not so much demand that those things skyrocket to 160, and there's not so little bit of demand that people have to sell them for 80 and lose money because they're spending 86 from their distributors. Like, now, depending who you talk to, people might say, no, 100 is weak, 120 is better. Then you get into the super semantics.
It's a pizza.
Yeah. But I think there's definitely like things I could point to currently in this hobby that I'm like, okay, like this is healthy. But one of the things that's still very healthy about this hobby too, it's the good products. And that's the thing too that everyone has to understand. One thing about Pokemon is not every product is created equal. Not every product is going to perform or stand this test of time. Like Celebration's Ultra Premium Collection, probably going to stand the test of time. This new premium collection they just pump out with a bunch of Charizards in it and stuff, like, people are going to lose their freaking minds. And that stuff's probably going to sell out, and it's probably going to be really hard to buy. So, but when you have that stuff still selling out, that shows that the market is still very strong. Now, special delivery Charizards and all this stuff, that's super speculation still, even to this point. Like, tread lightly, or stuff like that. But
well, I mean, it's tough to like do any specking in Modern, it's tough, right? Now there's the whole, did I get the email? Did I get the code? That's fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun way to enjoy your hobby. Like to go into Discord and be like, did anyone get the code today? Now that's a fun thing.
Yeah.
But it's tough to worry about prices for products otherwise, because to me, anyone that's like serious about even investing, I think even if you wanted to buy a case of a Modern product, I think you should be set up with a distributor.
Sure.
I think you should get distributor pricing.
Yeah.
And it is becoming more available from what I hear. I haven't tried.
Yeah.
But
I've heard similar though.
Yeah. But there's just so much in Pokemon.
Yeah.
Professor Oak, I don't know what it is, but he's pulling these weird cards out. And I'm like, hey, that's a new card. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Like if the Moonbreon is too much money, do you have the full art Alakazam from XY? Because that's a sick card. Lugia in the background.
Fates Collide Alakazam. You'll get your money's worth out of that card.
That's it. Fates Collide.
Yeah.
Alakazam.
Yeah. Or you could go back to the Neos and get the real true Umbreon, the real true Moonbreon card,
which is they did a great job harking back.
Yeah.
And homage type thing,
Yeah, that's Neo Discovery, that card. So
I think that's Pokemon Classics favorite card.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. But it's good to go ahead.
Yeah, well, it even goes into what we're going to do later in this video. Is you put together a little PowerPoint presentation on your favorite set, which is Versus Series, and we're just going to go through it and look at the cards and stuff. And it goes to what you just said, like watching Professor Oak when he pulls out a card that he's never seen, and you're like, wow. Now, I don't think Versus Series really sleeps on people anymore, but there is a chance, after this video is all said and done and gets like 1,000 views, there might be a few people who are not even familiar with Versus Series at all, because it is a strictly Japanese set. We never got to see any of those artworks in English. So there's a potential you're going to expose some people today to one of the best sets ever. And trust me, I don't like Japanese, but I recognize how awesome Versus Series is,
Versus is great because of its construction.
Yeah. And how it's built and how it's, it's like Gold Silver, how you went through the game. That's how they built the sets, like how you were to progress to the different gym leaders and everything. Yeah. It's cool. And first ever secret rare with the Rockets Tyranitar too. So
getting back to that quality over quantity.
Sure.
So I have bought a lot of bulkish, and that slowed down too, because some prices have kind of come up, but like a lot of things in Marvel that I thought were ancient Mew-y. I keep having this theory of it's ancient Mew theory. It's like, will someone pay, even if it's minimum, even if someone is buying the card, grading it, and selling it, and they're making $5 to $10, will someone buy it still? And I think so. I was kind of getting a ton of those so that I could help kind of get Marvel on the PSA population report or CGC or whoever.
Sure.
But as far as quality, so like last year, I was buying, PMGs and other numbered cards in Marvel, because I was just I was just jumping in, and they were cheap. They were a lot cheaper than they are today. And then the PMG market took off, and then it left behind in its wake basically all of the other serialized cards in Marvel, and there's a lot of others. And there was about a 3 to 4 week period. It was like a race to pick up all that stuff. And right now I am still trying to get quality. Marvel has a lot of sets that were low prints. There's a lot of cards that were printed less than 100 times.
So what timeline was that where Marvel was really like turned down the printers a little bit? Was that modern time, or are we talking like mid
About
2000s.
1996, 1997, they turned the
Okay.
printers down.
So that's right after like, the series 1, 2, 3, 4. And so
Yeah.
then it started to drop down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
then, so from 2000, pretty much they're starting to get the print runs up to like 30,000 boxes, 45,000 boxes. But pretty much from 2000 to today, everything was under 15,000 boxes printed, 15,000 boxes.
okay. I didn't know they were that low. That's actually crazy low for any TCG.
Yeah. I mean, Cryptid Nation first edition was 25K, right?
Yeah.
I
And that's a lot. But
yeah.
no,
So there's a lot of rarity, like cards that aren't numbered. Like this card right here, it's Star Power Supreme. You can't pick it up. It's Black Panther.
yeah.
You can't pick up the hollow foiling. But this card, they printed less than 130 of these.
Oh, wow.
It's not numbered or anything. It was just a typical insert. So I'm just kind of like trying to like get focused on the low print stuff. And a lot of it's good at price. I think it's a good price.
Yeah. So what you just showed there, so now that's an insert and that's not a numbered card or everything. And, one of the things I want to talk about on today's video is, being able to focus on time and how are you able to navigate so many different TCGs at one time? Because when you talk about an insert being, potentially like, I think you said like 130 of those were produced. Like you now have to go down the rabbit hole for each TCG to say, hey, the inserts are actually sometimes, rarer or scarcer than some of these number cards. If you got a numbered card out of like 199, like that insert is now rarer and scarcer. But in order to know that, you have to kind of do your research and stuff. So how are you able to just do very basic time management across all these TCGs? Because for me, I always think if I spent as much time in other things as I do Pokemon, I would just have zero time in my day at all points. So how are you able to navigate that?
Yeah, no, I mean, resources is one. Like the print runs. I opened up a Marvel Discord server, and Alex in the server put up this great set data, and it's basically a master list of every set since 1990, and a lot of them they either printed the number printed on the box, or like with a Fleer Retro set where you have PMGs, you can take the total amount of characters, multiply them by the number of PMGs that they have because they're all numbered.
Yeah.
And then you could like work your way back to the box side, the amount of boxes printed. And then you could work your way back in to get the number of inserts and how many of those were printed per their pull rate. But I don't focus on multiple IPs at a time. I've been collecting cards for 6 years, but like Pokemon, that was 6 years, whatever. 2014 is 2022. So Pokemon, my knowledge is it has gone down the drain.
Yeah. I always make that joke that I have forgotten more than I know.
Yeah. I can't remember anything. I'll look at a card and I'm like, oh wait, what set is that? Like I'll know the era.
Yeah.
But I can't remember a lot of stuff that I used to be able to remember. So no, I mean, I think resources are the best though. And then being able to save your resources, like whether it's Dragon Ball Z Cardos or Dragon Ball Z Score or I've heard a lot about Lord of the Rings lately, Pokemon. I'll favorite all of the best spots.
Yeah.
That's really it. But
yeah, no, it is interesting. I'm just always amazed at how you're able to like, really branch off and do so many different TCGs. Now, what about Pokemon though? Because I remember during like the craze of 2020, you were saying how you really pulled back a lot on Pokemon, and you had said that the last booster box you even bought was, I think, Sun and Moon base or around that timeline. Have you moved back into Pokemon at all, or are you still kind of just testing out the waters a little bit and seeing what you like? Because
No, I did.
money is a thing in this hobby too, and when you spread yourself out too many TCGs, like money runs out too eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so like I know you said I was in the Metazoo. I haven't bought any Metazoo.
Oh, okay. I thought
Um,
you were.
I was just with Basic Trainer that one night he really got into Metazoo.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's why I was confused. All right. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
But no, actually I was taking my Pokemon collection of whatever 6 years and then selling that into the boom because I thought in July of 2020 we were in a bubble.
Hmm. So that you were early bubble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was selling in and I definitely caught the Logan wave because it took me that long.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't bought it. I did open up some Darkness Ablaze. But I haven't really. It's funny because I'm so active with the Pokemon community, but I'm not buying any Pokemon.
Yeah.
I'm buying little bits and pieces for custom slabs for people, like for like Collecticon Denver.
Yep.
But outside of that, I think the flipping potential in Pokemon is like unlike anything else. I think, but I just don't have it in me. I've lost the spark.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because so Jake from Pokenomics had a pretty interesting topic last night, and I think I might not get the title exactly right, but it was something along the lines of is talking about investing in Pokemon like hurting the hobby or something like that. I don't I know the wording is off a little bit. Or do you think talking about Pokemon as an investment is a good thing or a bad thing or something like that? And it was funny when I read that because when I look at like Jake's topic, I think about it two ways. One, if you think about Pokemon as an investment too much, it's a bad thing. But if you think about Pokemon as not an investment too much, that's also a bad thing. There's like this place in between where it can't just be what the whole hobby's about for you. It can't just be about making money. And the hobby definitely can't be about everything is worthless, nothing has value. Like you need to find that sweet spot in between. And yeah, I just think it's funny because like, and he's right. When Jake talks about Pokemon, when he talks about things and like the investment aspect of it, like it is important to talk about. Like we can't ignore it. Like to ignore it could be detrimental in a way, right? But like you also can't pretend or you can't like ignore that it exists, but you can't also like act like that's the only thing that drives this hobby and there's no player base, there's no collector base. You can't ignore those people. It's definitely that fine line you kind of have to walk in between, you know?
Do you enjoy it?
I enjoy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been burnt out?
So the only time no, not really. I guess I kind of got burnt out a little bit, like when my channel was very new and I was trying to like stay super up to date with like release dates for sets and all the like the little nuances and like trying to pump out like two or three videos and like let's make a video on like talk about the release or what are the products going to be in this set and stuff. Like I'll give you an example like PTCGV or PTC
PTCGO.
Geo, yeah, he has a great channel. How he's able to keep pumping out like that daily news type content, like I get burned out watching his videos. Like that's the only time
Yeah.
I get burned out. Like how he's able to do that nonstop is crazy. And during the hype, because like I was growing my channel and trying to do this stuff and trying to play that YouTube algorithm game and kind of failing at it, I definitely got burnt out doing that, like keeping up with the daily news because the way I collect Pokemon, like I am very aware of what's going on for the news that matters. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
when the big news comes out and it matters, like I know it's happening because I'm in Discords and I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram and all this. So when the big news happens and it catches my attention, I'm very well aware of it. But when the little teeny nuance things come on, like I can't tell you right now what the release date of Lost Origins is. Like I couldn't tell you the exact date of it, like Tuesday, September 12th or 15th or 16th or 17th. I know it falls within those timelines because I know enough set releases that it's probably going to fall between, the 12th and the 21st. Like it's going to fall between then, but the exact day doesn't bother me. But some people out there are like so focused that they can tell you stuff like that. And when I was keeping up with stuff like that, that's kind of trivial in the grand scheme of Pokemon. Like I could tell you that like Skyridge came out in June of 2003 because that's important because Ruby Sapphire came out in July of 2003 and it was taken over by Nintendo. Those dates matter. But like, does the release date of Battle
I had no
Styles
idea
matter?
they mattered.
Yeah. So like some dates do matter, right?
I got you. No, I get
But,
you.
like,
I get you. But that,
the
yeah,
things
like
that matter,
even
I
that
remember. The things
detail.
that don't, I don't.
Oh yeah, no, like I don't think you can keep up with that, right?
Yeah.
Now that's a data point that stuck with you, and I just made a joke, but yeah, no, I think I didn't get burnt out. There was a period earlier this year because I haven't really been selling a lot. I sold a lot 2020, 2021, and then I have a lot of Pokemon and card savers ready to get graded and get put on the market. Been sitting on those. I have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh ready to get graded, put on the market. I have, Marvel. I didn't even have to sell that much into Marvel, but I sold into the boom, the PMG boom. And then after that, I haven't really sold much. And I think I'm going to start gearing up to sell because that whole hobby fund is starting to run dry and I want to keep buying stuff. But that kind of hit me weird because I didn't. Now work was crazy and life is a lot different than it was over the last 2 years. Not telecommuting, work is full gear nonstop. But I was doing so much selling that it had kind of making big sales like almost weekly had kind of been I don't know, it kind of became like, and I definitely pictured myself as like building like a side business. But then just like wanting to collect Marvel and there's a few other little collections that I'll work on completing on the cheap. But that did kind of mess with me a little bit. And it wasn't so much investing was burning me out. It was like I was burnt out of selling, but I also wasn't used to like just being back to a collector. I've been selling since the beginning.
Yeah, selling could be taxing, and especially when you're trying. And I always talk about selling too, as some people are like, what would it take for you to get out of Pokemon? And I'm like, well, logistically, it's impossible because I'm not going to sell all this stuff because I'm too lazy to sell all this stuff. And when you look at a guy like Nick Old School Pokemon who's grinding 99-cent singles, stuff like that on eBay.
Oh my God.
Dude, I get burnt out listening to him talk about that stuff. Like,
dude, I clipped a little thing of him yesterday or the day before, and he's like, yeah, it sells for 75 cents, but with shipping, shipping's like $3.50, so that's a pretty good amount of money on that card. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Talk about a hustle.
Yeah. So I definitely got burnt out selling for a little bit too, but it's like a different type of burnout, and I think I got burnt out too. And I don't know if you ran into this because you were selling a lot of stuff because you realized that maybe we were in a bubble, or you thought maybe we were in a bubble. Sometimes when you are a collector still, you look at some of these cards and you're like, ooh, I sell this card, I never get it back.
Yeah.
Because even if this card retraces 30%, I've already made 100% profit in it. So even at a 30% retrace of where I'm going to sell this card at, it's still 70% more than I was willing to buy it when I did buy it a few years back, you know? So,
Yeah.
so you start looking at that way and you're like, all right, like, goodbye card. Like, it's been fun. You're on to a new home. And sometimes that hurdle is a little hard for me to get over. Like, trust me, there's a lot of cards, a lot of slabs in my collection that if I sold at the height of heights of Pokemon and like the most ideal times in 2021, early 2021, I probably would have made a lot of money and been able to buy those cards back after the fact. But I wasn't, no matter how sure I was that we were maybe in a bubble and the market was going to retrace,
You
I
were
don't have a crystal ball. I couldn't
right.
guarantee it. So I was
Yeah.
looking at some of these cards as I'm not going to sell it. And I wish I did, but no one knows. Or
To me, it was just so, the reason that I got burnt out was just because whether it was telecommuting, I mean, my commute is about 2 hours every day.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So just transitioning back to real world living outside of pandemic living, I didn't have any time to enjoy collecting. And so it was all of a sudden the hobby made my whole entire life work instead of work and fun. And I think there was just a balance there that I'm going to go back to selling. It'll just be a much better balance. But Basic Trainer had the same type of deal. He was like, man, I could have sold my base set box for 35,000 or whatever it was. And I could have bought it back today, no problem. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, you didn't know if you got rid of it, if you're ever going to be able to get it back. And I remember my wife I went up to her and I'm like, this card's going for $1,000. And she's like, sell it. What are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, but I thought I was going to have this card for like another 10 years because I had bought it maybe a year or two before. And I'm like, I haven't even had this card. Like I just got it. It was supposed to take 10 years to do this. And she's like,
Yeah.
It's a piece of cardboard, Carter. Like, so you could buy a car.
All right. So you brought up a great point just there. Now, when you talk about a lot of these cards, and this is something I actually thought about on my drive today from work, is that exactly what you just said. A lot of the cards that we thought were going to take 10 years to appreciate in value did it in like a year or two. But there's a lot of products now that had that same thought process in mind. A lot of products that people just priced in 10 years of, gains in that product. And that's one of the things I'm thinking about for this market could be stagnant now for a long time. Like, I think about Sun and Moon booster boxes, like Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds. Some of these booster boxes are like $340, right? So that's a $100 to $300. Now, that box could sit at $340 for a long time because people have already priced in like 5 years of gains in a year. So it might sit at that for that 5-year timeline till it gets to where it needs to be and stuff like that. And like, this is that area of the market that's going to be next to impossible to navigate for anyone,
Yeah. I mean, even if it does, years go by and some come to market and the price could even go down because you still got to get through the different people that are going to be willing to sell and bring that product to market. And then eventually one day it'll hit the point where, okay, there's really not that many left. And
it's like black and white. If anyone knew how little bit of black and white was probably out there, or at least how little bit of it was actually going to hit the market, because listen, we saw some black and white booster box prices hit stupid prices where I said, all right, if there's black and white booster boxes, they're coming out. They're coming out at $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a piece. And then they didn't, right? Or at least whatever did come out, it wasn't like enough. I think a perfect example is like Emerging Powers for $1,800. If the supply of Emerging Powers is so low that booster box sold for $1,800, there's probably not a lot of this stuff out there. And if it is, like, who the hell knows what it's going to take at this point to like shake out some of that stuff. But even then, you would have had the same conversation during during XY if you were talking about black and white. Like, nah, there's a lot of this stuff out there. It's going to come out if prices hit, you know. And if I were to say like when XY base came out or whatever, and I was like, yeah, like some of these booster boxes are going to be selling for like $3,000, like Dragon Exalted's a great set, and you're going to be like, all right, dude, like you're smoking something, right? But it ended up being right. And like even those booster box prices haven't retraced crazy because there's just not a lot of them.
Yeah, sealed has done really well.
Yeah.
Really well.
Some of it
in terms of the retrace. What's that?
So yeah, some of it has done really good. Some of it hasn't fared as well. But mainly the stuff that fared very poorly was the stuff that reprints, reprints.
Oh, well, I don't even consider that stuff. Like,
yeah,
I don't even think about that, I guess, because no. But like evolutions, what's evolutions at 700, 800 still?
Yeah, which is
that's a miracle.
It's like $700 more than it should still be worth. Like,
I know
that's $100 booster box on a good day, and I want to say $80, but I caught myself and said it's $100 box. But it happened, and it
I sold I sold my evolutions that I bought in 2016. I sold a box of it for $425. I was undercutting the market when it first popped up to 500. I was undercutting the market, so I took that $425. I bought a Karen's Umbreon.
Nice.
That we'll see later tonight.
So it's funny if you look at the thumbnail of this video, the card I chose from Versus Series for the thumbnail was the Karen's Umbreon.
Karen's Umbreon,
because it's definitely one of my favorite cards.
That's one card that I won't sell. That's part of my. I do have a small Pokemon collection that I'm not selling. But yeah, no,
Do you have any half decks or anything for Versus Series or any of the 30 card packs or anything like that?
No, I was this close to buying a couple of the different packs. Have you ever seen a pack opening?
Not that I could think of off the top of my head.
You should look it up. There's one guy that gets completely smoked. He is not aware of. They're not normal packs.
Yeah,
they're fat packs.
Yeah, they're fat packs. They're the 30 cards, and like a lot of them are energies and stuff like that. Yeah,
and there's one guy.
There's 10 energies per 30 pack or per 30. Wait, no, I'm sorry. So Versus Series guaranteed one holo, so it's 12 uncommon commons, one holo, so that's your 13 cards, your 12 uncommons, commons, one holo, and then actually I think it's 17 energy cards. So like out of that 30 cards, most of them are energies. I think that's what it is. It could be wrong.
Well, not all of the packs. So the packs also come with specific holo Pokemon too.
Yeah.
You can't get any of the holos in any of the Versus Series packs, whether it's the leaf or the fire or the water.
Okay.
But yeah, no, if anyone wants to watch a funky Pokemon pack opening, it's one of the more unique Pokemon packs they ever made. And there's one out there where the guy just like he gets depressed as he's opening up. He's like, oh my God, this is not what I expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I keep going back to this quality versus quantity. I have a lot, like, so I focus on quality personally, but like I've seen so like I was on Jake's stream the other night. He's been talking a lot about like Star Wars and he had me on to talk Marvel and retro to talk.
He loves his Star Wars, man. He'll talk about that any chance he gets.
So he's been getting excited about that. And you can see people are getting upset. Some people are like, hey, like you're taking people away from Pokemon. And it's like, well, I imagine that those people have not been in Pokemon long, right? And
people he's taken or the people that are getting upset?
The people getting upset.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because I don't think, yeah, I'm not buying Pokemon, but I wasn't buying Marvel until after I had already stopped buying Pokemon. I just think that, when you have it collected, you've collected it, right? And I've sold most of mine off, but there are people like yourself and the Jakes of the world that they still have their collection, and once you've got it, you've got it. So it does leave room. Now, Pokemon is an endless abyss. You could
it's
literally
actually
go forever.
impossible at this point to complete Pokemon. There's no such thing as completing Pokemon, There's just no such thing.
But it just, I don't know. I think you do get room, even if it's one day every other month. You just like dive into something different. I mean, I'll pull this card out. I got it sitting right here. I don't think there's not many. I doubt there's many people that wouldn't look at this card and be like, oh yeah, that's really cool.
Oh yeah, that is cool. Yeah. The Venom. And
Yeah.
what is that, like a die cut card kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a jambalaya. It's a die cut card, and it's one of those, sports inserts from the 90s. But it's just fun. It's just cool. I mean, but no, I will say that I don't think anyone needs to be worried about like Marvel or Star Wars or even Metazoo really pulling like a major market away from Pokemon. I don't think anyone needs to worry about that. Have you heard about Metazoo? How's it doing?
No, never heard about it. Is that a new game?
I just was curious to see how UFO is doing. I know there's been a lot of drama about suggested retail price, but
I think
seems like it's probably doing fine.
I think Dan Ketchum Collectibles said he was going to make a video. I heard him talking in his Pokey Flips podcast that he's going to possibly put out a video on Saturday about that. But when I heard like that they had to sell it like 140 at release, and then they could retrace to 120, but then you look on eBay and you see all these low prices for this stuff. I'm like, if these guys are all contractually obligated to sell at certain prices, but there's some people not, like, that could be crippling to people,
Yeah.
Like if you buy $10,000 worth of booster boxes and you're contractually obligated for the first 2 weeks to sell something at 140, but you got somebody on eBay selling the same box for 100. How the hell do you compete? You don't,
You don't.
You get smoked. That's what
happens. Dan navigates. Dan's like, I'll crack the boxes and sell the single.
Yeah.
But even like TCA gaming,
to cannibalize a product like he does and like sell things individually and do all that stuff, it makes sense. But dude, there's a lot of time that's involved in.
I doubt that's the route he wanted to go.
No,
that's more of a old school Pokemon route.
I think he's a little blinded by Metazoo, and some people need to show him the light. And I'll be that guy, Dan. If you're out there,
I'm sure he's doing. I'm sure Dan's doing okay.
I don't think anybody's questioning if Dan's doing okay or not. Dan.
But no, I mean, but even like TCA gaming, and I might be wrong about this, but Dan had to tell TCA like, hey, you're actually not supposed to sell those boxes for that cheap, because TCA got it from distro. So there's like two different routes. Dan is a partner, and you can get it direct from Metazoo, or you can get it from distribution. Well, if no one tells TCA at distribution, you have to at least sell it for this amount. Then he just needs to sell it for anything he's willing to make a profit for.
Yeah.
So he had to go back, and a lot of the information isn't getting disseminated, but then you are kind of hurting everyone that's following the rules.
Which, when you think about that, though, it shows you now that that's a perfect example of like very dangerous. The fact that a person who doesn't own Metazoo, doesn't collect Metazoo, isn't involved in the Metazoo market, but the fact that I knew that they had to sell at a certain price, but somebody who has a distributor agreement and getting this product directly from, like a wholesaler doesn't know that, like, it shows you that, maybe everything Like, again, though, we are as deep down the rabbit hole sometimes when it comes to like
Yeah, I've been
absorb.
hearing it after the fact. I had no
Yeah.
idea beforehand.
And I honestly, I probably wouldn't have known if it wasn't for Dan making his videos talking about that. I probably wouldn't even know, to be completely transparent with everybody. But it's crazy to think about. So I
Crazy
had
to
my
think
I
about.
had my first ever Metazoo pack opening on my channel. You should watch it one day when you get a chance.
Did I see that? I feel
It's
like
a it's a it's a YouTube short. It's me opening a pack. I do a good job. Goes right in the paper shredder. Then I drink a little beer. Not a big one, a little one.
Man, cryptids, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Cryptids are awesome. I have no idea if it's gonna make it.
I don't know. There's a lot of things, even like some of these new it's like that whole Kickstarter mindset, right? Like how many Kickstarters are gonna be, pump and dumps? How many are gonna run away with people's money? You got the new one like Sorcery coming out, got millions of dollars, like what's that gonna do? What's organic demand versus inorganic demand? What's demand where people actually care about something versus everybody's just trying to make money? And like, there's a lot. There's a lot to think about when it comes to stuff like that.
These collectibles are still so tough.
Yeah.
You know, the junk wax, I think, had a major run up.
Yeah.
We have a completely different market than the junk wax.
Yeah. It's a different market, but then it's a different time too. Like, what is the social media influence? What does this have? Like, does it like make things last a little bit longer, like potentially not burn out? Does it potentially like shill stuff to the moon too quickly? Like, and by shilling stuff, by, making it public, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Because some people would say that is 100% of the time a positive things, because maybe you're putting stuff out to a vast majority of the market and at least making people aware of stuff. But other people might say, no, that is a really bad thing because you're not letting this thing now grow organically. Like sometimes you need things to grow organically and, start to grow a true fan base, collector base, player base, whatever that might be before. And then once that core group is there and you start to establish some sort of market, then when the social influencer shills it to the freaking moon and then there's the buyouts and prices go skyrocketing and all this stuff, like then that's okay because at least you have that core group. But when it starts with everything on the moon, like rocket ship emojis and shit like that, like I could see how that can be bad, where other people would be like, no, that's great. And we had a lot of people in the different collectible hobbies in 2020, 2021. That's all they ever saw. All they ever saw was I buy something at release, it goes to the moon the day after.
I loved it.
Dude, a lot of people loved it. I loved it, but like you understood it and I understood it that this wasn't like sustainable. While it's fun while it's happening, don't get me wrong. Sustain and like that's a whole thing. You could talk about sustainability in a hobby. Like what is sustainability in Pokemon? What is sustainability in Metazoo or Marvel or Star Wars or Dragon Ball or you name it, right? Like what does sustainability mean? Sustainability means when the hype fades and everyone leaves, what's that market look like? Pokemon, I feel very comfortable that it has sustainability. Some stuff, I don't know,
So this is a great conversation. There's a couple different points. Like Logan Paul, I think was a net positive. It created a boom. But I think things like just a few months later, I was watching Card Economist rape a guy for $2,800 on 4 packs of something.
Yeah.
When the packs were like a third of the price on eBay.
Yeah. And making it sound like he was doing that guy a favor by just absolutely like,
oh my God,
my heart money
started pounding. I started getting pissed. I couldn't believe what this guy was doing. And maybe it was just some rich guy that just was throwing money around. I don't really know, but that was way worse what I was seeing on his stream, you know, over a year ago now. I haven't watched him in a long time. Versus Logan, you know, people were buying $6,000 PSA 9 Charizards. But I think Logan was a net positive, right? I really do. I think he added a lot more people. There's so many more people today.
But that goes back to, there was that baseline group there. Before Logan made that video, there was this core group, like, and it was still, Pokemon was still doing this. It was still gaining popularity. It wasn't like it flatlined. Like, everyone here remembers 2016 and the Pokemon Go boom. And yes, the card market definitely felt some residual like shockwaves from that. But it dropped, but it was creeping back up early 20. You even talked about July being when you thought the bubble was. And Logan didn't make his video till October, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I'm pulling up Pokemon price, but you can see the total sales volume go up in March and April. Like it was like this. If you get out of the whole Logan boom,
yep,
you can watch 2020.
If you want to share your screen, you can, because you have the ability. Just make sure you don't have any tabs up that are dangerous.
That should work. Share. Can you see this?
Yep, I can see it.
Yeah, so like this isn't Logan. This is Stimmy checks. And this is that core group. So this is February. We went into lockdowns on 3/15, 3/16, right?
Yeah, March, call it, yeah.
March 15th, I think Trump called the lockdowns. And so this is Stimmy checks right here. Stimmy checks and that core group of Pokemon collectors, they had more money because they had either a Stimmy or they weren't going out spending because we were locked down at home. This is what happens.
We're going out.
What's that?
Yeah, I think everybody just wasn't going out. I think that had a little bit more than maybe the Stimmy checks, but
like right here, we didn't go from 4,000 sales to 10,000 sales by more than doubling the amount of Pokemon people.
Exactly.
Within a month. Like we didn't just go on lockdowns and then all of a sudden have twice the amount of people buying Pokemon. It took people time to even discover that Pokemon had a market. And then down here, then in September, October, you start hearing about Logan. That's when you get a lot more new people.
Yep.
But this was a boom. And so in June, July, I'm thinking, the total sales volume is, look at this.
Highest we've ever seen it. Yeah.
$500,000 in February, 4x in June.
Crazy.
And I'm thinking, we're in a bubble now. Well, no. And I can't remember exactly where I was going with this, but that's all I had to share.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at where the Logan Paul effect is, then you go all the way up to, the top there, and it's even 2x from what you thought was the bubble,
Yeah. Let me see. I don't know
how to stop. When you see where it retraces now, right? Where the price is now is still the retrace, and then we had the recovery, and then.
So right here is kind of like our total sales volume kind of leveled out at $2 million. But the sales went up. That just means that the price per sale went down. So the card prices were getting healthier. And then I wouldn't even look at these last 3 months because it's not fully up to date.
I was just gonna say, the numbers would be too skewed.
Yeah. So no, I think Pokemon is great. And yeah, I think, like with Jake's talk last night about getting burnt out, I did get burnt out, but I had been focusing on selling so much because selling was amazing. It was doing so well. and yeah, life changed. But now, it took me a little bit, and then I was like, no, I'm just gonna collect. Then I went too far to collecting, kind of pull me back, and now I'm just chilling, and I'll probably start selling again because I gotta buy more.
Yeah, it's that like gray line, right? It's like gotta collect, but still gotta sell. Still gotta find time.
Yeah, and the people that, like, if you're watching Dan or Old School and they're making all this money and they're doing all these sales, you got to remember that that's what they do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a job and a family, and where are your priorities, and just recognize that TCA has a different set of priorities because this is his job.
Yeah.
But then again, there's not a lot of people out there that take selling very seriously. Most of the people on Jake's live last night were just collectors that wanted to talk Pokemon. I think that's the biggest group. It's people that just enjoy this stuff.
Yeah. And I think and they always have a very similar backstory, like it's always interesting because they always seem to have got in at the same time. But I think you've talked about this before. I know I've definitely talked about it in the past, where anytime you have a massive inflood of new investors or collectors or flippers or whatever, with a massive like influx, there's always going to be a massive amount of people doing that exodus too. But as long as the massive amount of people joining is more than the people leaving, that's a net positive for the hobby as a whole, And I think we definitely saw that with this huge run up of new collectors and influx of people. The amount of people leaving is like definitely not as much as how many people came in. So, and I've noticed that, and I'm sure you probably noticed that.
Yeah, it's the people that they're a little bit more vocal now because you hear from them more. The people that did spend too much, that spent on stuff that came down, they've got a great perspective on it. There's a guy I know that bought one of those 6,000 PSA 9 Charizards, and he didn't talk to me first, but he bought the 6,000, and he's still here.
Yeah,
he learned.
Maybe you put that card on your mantle, and it's a very, very expensive piece of artwork for you, and you can look at it and know.
Yeah,
but as long,
go ahead.
And maybe if you really love it, it's worth it. But
no, he has a love-hate relationship with it.
I can see that. Yeah.
But no, I think the hobby's in a good spot. I think it's fantastic to see Nick and Dan do what they're doing. I know these group of guys, the Spicy Boys, funny guys. They've been impressing me a lot lately. They all really have been crushing it. They've kind of taken the route of, at first they were just flippers. We're flipping. We're here. We were in shoes, or we were in wherever. And now we're making our money in Pokemon. But now they're becoming hashtag collector boys, right? But they're doing it in a way that I really admire, because it takes a lot of effort. They're buying raw, they're grading minty cards, and they're selling them. And what they're collecting is not they've got some fire cards, all those guys. So there's just different people enjoying different things all over the place. It's a great hobby. It's kind of incredible that I'm not buying Pokemon.
Yeah, so this is the thing about Pokemon too, and a lot of people are going to hear this, and I think you kind of alluded it to it. Like, there's so many opportunities right now with Pokemon that it's almost like disgusting. And you just sometimes have to be like, it's like you got to use the word, you got to be fluid in this hobby, right? Like fluid, like, okay, in today's class, we're going to do fluid dynamics. How can you be like fluid within this hobby? And what does that mean? It just means to be fluid in this hobby is you just have to realize areas of the hobby that are undervalued when they are undervalued. Because the thing about undervalued areas of the hobby is eventually they stop being undervalued. And when they stop being undervalued, hopefully you have made your money because you recognize that area. And then you find a new area in the hobby that are undervalued. Like there's an area that I don't want to say right now because I'll just start hurting myself eventually. But there's an area of the hobby that isn't an area of the hobby I even really like and don't really frequent that often, but it's just so grossly undervalued right now that I've been taking advantage of that area of the hobby. So,
Yeah.
and
Gosh.
there's also like this little thing too. It's who's selling what at what time. Like you'll find periods of time where you like certain eBay sellers will pop up out of nowheres, whether they're liquidating collections or they're becoming big sellers, whether it's United States or Japan or whatever. You'll start to recognize when new sellers start to emerge and maybe they don't have like a ton of watchers or followers yet. So people aren't really watching their auctions like hyper focused. And so some of their stuff starts going under market, or that person has so much good stuff. They like have all their auctions ending within 2 minutes of each other. And they've accidentally flooded the market when they could have just spaced out stuff and like little things like that, which in the grand scheme of Pokemon is meaningless, right? Like one guy stacks a bunch of auctions in one single day. But if you can take advantage of that one day, that could give you enough inventory for like 3 months. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I just had this experience with that last example you had.
Which one?
Where the guy just stacks a bunch of auctions.
Yeah.
So there's this set from 2011, Marvel Beginnings, 2012, and they have these holograms. And you're probably familiar with the holograms where it's a silver card and you can kind of see the photo inside.
Yeah.
Well,
and you can never tell what it is unless you really look close.
Well, these are incredible. They've really upgraded these cards.
I'm thinking like the series 2, like Wolverine ones and stuff, like the silver hollows and those that are super hard to see.
Yeah, I
wonder. Or even series 4 has like that secret rare. It's Spider-Man fighting, I want to say Venom, the green one. It's like 1 out of every 54 packs, but like even that one's super tough to see.
I pulled this Carnage. Wonder if you can see it.
Oh yeah, the green card. Yeah. So that's from what, series 3? Oh no, that's series 4. That's series 4. That's actually the hardest. That's the chase of that. That's series 4. Yeah. That's the one I was just talking about. Yeah. I think
it looks so much better than that.
You gotta hold it sideways though. I think that card's a sideways. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you can't even.
Yeah, I know the card. It's from series 4, but
it's actually amazing in person. It's like the depth of this thing is crazy. It's too bad I can't pull it up. I'm trying to create like a Marvel catalog of all this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I think that it tells you what or maybe it wasn't 1 out of. I think it maybe like 1 out of every 175 or. I think it's like 1 out of every 3 booster boxes or something.
It is. I think it came from this box. I haven't opened it.
Then
all
yet. I'm thinking a different card then.
Okay.
I'm thinking the series 4 one. But either way, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So it's kind of like this, but they upgraded them. There's a permanent fixture, like a 2D, like a typical card of just the character, and then the hologram behind them. But anyway, someone came through and put up like 28. Since I've been watching these cards for like a year, there's been less than like 60 sales of this insert, and each character had less than 75 printed. So you don't see a lot very often. And someone came through and put up 28, in a day, and you picked up a lot of good deals. So just to your point, there's a lot of opportunity everywhere. And if you see a good card, I probably would make a suggestion. If you do see a good card out there and the price point does seem like you're not really getting a steal or a deal, keep it in your saved searches and maybe all the buy it nows, maybe people get tired of listing them, and maybe they pop them up for auction.
Yep.
And you never know, you might catch an auction any day.
Yeah. And it's just like that card and kind of what I said, where, you had 28 auctions that guy put up. That's one day. One day in the history of this hobby means nothing for the grand scheme of Marvel, right? But for you now, and all the cards you were just able to acquire on one day, that one day of purchases for you could be huge and could be something that's like,
It was insane. It
Yeah,
was like 50% of anything I could have found and bought over the last year and a half in one
exactly.
day.
And I've run into that same exact scenario in Pokemon, but again, it's being engaged with the market too, and like,
Yeah.
and luck too. Like
Mhm.
sometimes, trust me, I'm at the point where I don't search Pokemon every day on eBay. Some days I do, some days I don't. But when I do, and you hit that
When I
jackpot,
do,
when I do, it's over, like, but sometimes you gotta weed through so much crappy listings, like every single auction that somebody puts as a buy it now starting price and stuff, like you gotta weed through a lot of that. You gotta
have
do a
you
lot of Pokemon and soonest, Pokemon newly listed, it's
do you use the minus?
no,
That's key. I have
don't.
to do that.
I don't.
You should.
I
It'll
just
get rid of all the junk. Like one of the easiest things for Marvel right now, because Topps has a digital NFT that I could just do minus digital, because I don't want to see any digital cards.
makes sense. Yeah.
But it'll help.
Yeah. I'm always afraid if
Tools
I
are
do that,
everything.
I'll miss something though.
Yeah, that's like once in a blue moon though.
Dude, I was talking when so my last podcast I had Josh the Green Shiz on, and I talked to him about just a random I like base set Raichus, and I just picked up a random Raichu for at auction, just
I
ending soonest. It was like a $10 card with $5 shipping. And out of all the Raichus I've ever purchased in my entire life, this one was the most minty, like best quality card, where I think in a worst case, again, it's an unlimited, so it's not going to like be fantastic. But worst case scenario for me now going to be a 9. And best case scenarios, it's going to hit a 10. And 10s for unlimited cards are really hard to get, first off, and they sell for huge premiums. So that could be like a
that's
huge win for me.
that's a fun win.
Yeah. And that was just random thing, and it was one of those, the seller had zero feedback. I didn't even know if I was going to get the card. I got in the mail and I had to like do a double look at it. I was so shocked when I opened the envelope. I was like, this doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
And especially like a 10 quality card. It's just crazy.
So like my first collection purchase ever for Pokemon, it was a $200 binder on Craigslist. I couldn't believe it. But it had a first edition Drakafu in there, and I sold it for $250.
Nice.
Like within 48 hours. And that's what hooked me. But really early on, I met these storage unit guys. And that might be why I'm into a lot of different stuff, because it was like sports. These guys would buy storage units and then they'd piece it out on Craigslist. Maybe they got a toolbox, an $800 toolbox that they flip. And then if they had cards in there, they would post the sports cards. Well, after a couple times of meeting up with Craigslist listings, I was just like, hey, if you ever have Pokemon, let me know and I'll just come buy it from you. And so I would buy big collections, just Sterilite full of Pokemon cards. And often it was like Inuyasha and Yu Yu Hakusho and the full 9, but most of the time it was Pokemon. And it's like $200, bada bing, bada boom. And then that all went away. It was either late 2020 or early 2021, because these people It's probably
They're probably
2021.
way overpaying those guys at that
Oh.
point for whatever crap they were pulling out, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, man, I just let me know when they stop, when they burn themselves, because there's
Yeah.
no way they're gonna run out of money for what they're paying you. I don't know. I was happy for them because they saw me, and I would go to them almost every other week and be like, oh my God, I sold this card. You remember that? You remember that haul you had a couple of years ago? I graded a card out of there, just sold it for 20 grand. And I was kind of feeling bad because I got a lot. It was like a $200 transaction every time. It could have been a Sterilite or two. But they were happy for me. We've known each other. So I was kind of happy for them that they were just making money on trash, because even like modern Pokemon stuff, they would sell for $1,000+ just a full bin. And I don't know.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that's the rational market talking, and you're a rational person looking at it, a rational market, and you're trying to make sense of it. And sometimes it's impossible.
Yeah. I haven't even gotten a hold of those guys. I'm sure they still have a lot of bites and stuff, but it'll probably come back down to not $200, but I don't know. Resources and tools is what I'm trying to get at. Like if you can find a spot that you like, or a seller on eBay.
So Manic Ventures TCG says, is it evil if you buy for super cheap from a person who does not know how much their collection is worth? Asking, is it evil? No. Evil's a subjective term, but no, like.
So I see, just to say hi to Rainy Day, Parker, Jamie, Ancient Mew, Basic, all the Spicy Boys, Chevels. I mean, I love this chat, man. Got Eva's binder in there, Thrifty. But it's a good question, because it might sound like I was hosing those guys, and I wasn't, you know. So when I first bought that collection from them, $200, I made $50 on one card. They weren't doing that work. They live in a flipping game. They can't just start acquiring stuff and start piecing out thousands of Pokemon cards. They don't know Pokemon. They know Charizard and Pikachu. They don't know if Wobbuffet is as stonks as Blastoise. They don't know if Baglossum is as stonks as Venusaur. I did. So I wasn't hosing them, right? I was piecing out their collection. So I was giving them a decent price, and then I was putting in the work. And then if you want to include grading, like it took me a few years before I even started grading, just because I should have put in more money, like instead of trying to make it all like from scratch.
That's I think a lot of people's should have did more, but you don't know though. You know, everything is relative for the time, you know, everything's so relative.
Yeah, well, I mean, Professor Oak, man, this chat, dude. Whew, got a fire chat tonight. But no, I don't think you should screw anybody. I think karma, there's a reason I did business with those guys for years. And it's because I was giving them a good market value for them.
Yeah.
They're selling beds and clothes and you know, treadmills, whatever would come in a U-Haul. They don't do really cards, right? So
Swami, are we getting into that point of the night where you want to do your presentation?
Yeah, I can do it, man.
So a little backstory to this. Swami did do this presentation on Professor Oak's channel. So if you guys haven't watched the original one, I recommend you going and watching that. I really enjoyed the presentation when he did it on Professor Oak's channel. I wanted to give it a couple months in between before Swami came and did it on my channel. passed, and I was like, hey man, you still want to do that presentation? So the presentation Swami is going to give is on Versus Series, which is one, if not his favorite sets. It's my favorite Japanese set. It's one of the very few times that I have to like honestly admit that we got shafted as, English collectors, and awesome artworks, cool backstories, relatively cheap. Like if you want to go get everything in PSA 10 prices, you're probably going to pay a lot. But if you want to pick up stuff in light play raw, relatively cheap set to collect. If you want to pick up some sealed stuff, still floats like
It's a little pricey.
$200 to $300. You could get some of those sealed packs for like $250. They're still pricey.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of them on eBay. So they're not super pricey, but they're not super cheap. You could actually probably like make some money. I don't want to like buy out the market. I don't want to shill something I don't own a lot of. So
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't want to affect the market either.
yeah.
Feel free to bring on anyone you want. I am good. So little backstory. You're gonna see. So I had deleted this. I didn't realize I had deleted this presentation, and I was gonna rebuild it to show on Pokedologist. Well, I get a hold of him, or Pokedologist sends me the link, and I'm like, okay, I'll be on in about an hour. I'm going to rebuild this PowerPoint because I can't find it. I still have all the photos and images and stuff. Anyway, he's like, that would be an hour late, Central Time. I'm like, oh my God. So I just screenshotted what I did out Professor Oaks. But let's get into it. The anatomy of the greatest set, Pokemon Verse. Hopefully I got some good photos there of people's faces. See, like this one, look at Professor Oak there.
I love the Houndoom, man. I love that artwork. Even the Dugong. Oh.
The Dugong, I love that card.
Yeah.
I mean, the Manatee, this set in a binder is one of the funnest sets. I'd say the artworks are fantastic. Like if you look at this Togetic and this Dragonite, up in the sky, up in the clouds, you've got Dugong and Manatee here under the water. You can play with this set in a binder and have a lot of fun.
And you could play with it multiple ways too, because of how the set's designed numbered wise too, is that it was numbered as if you were playing through like silver and gold. So the way you would go and progress through the different gyms and the different towns, that's how like all these cards are like for the gym leaders. So they're ordered in the set and how you would be introduced to these cards in the game. So you could do it that way. Or like Swami was saying, you can move around and make a binder however you want.
I think it's cool to get gym leaders on the cards.
I don't love like the gym sets for English, but
why is that? Why didn't anyone ever like them as much?
I don't know.
They're always cheaper.
That's good. Maybe it was just some of the artworks were lacking, or maybe it's because it came out of that real weird time where some people got out of Pokemon, like they had their base set Jungle Fossil, a little bit of Team Rocket, and then Legendary Collection or base set 2 and stuff like that. And you kind of just fall out of Pokemon. So people weren't really into gym that much. So, or if they were into gym, it wasn't for long. So they just never grew like that emotional attachment to it. And when they got back to it, maybe it just wasn't the best. I don't know. Who knows, right?
Speculate. I'm just curious what your thoughts were, because I've always wondered that. But like I would try to remember like this Dragonite. So one of the things I love most about this set is that there's multiple artworks of the same Pokemon. within the same set, and they have different styles to them. So this is, first of all, I love this Dragonite, but there will be another Dragonite that it has its own style to it. And I'm not showing all the cards tonight. Got Peeked at You up in the corner, kind of blocking out that Lapras. But this is really the Lapras that I mean, it's just incredible. The coloring on this, the yellow of his chest with the border of the card, and then you get the blue with the blue sky and the ocean. The shell is an amazing artwork. Like the detail is not like there's enough there, but it's not like a hyper detailed shell and like a bland Pokemon that doesn't fit. I just love it. It looks so good. But the fact that you get multiple artworks of Pokemon, you get to look at the same Pokemon in two different lights. And this Delibird, first shiny Delibird, by the way, and it might not be the only shiny Delibird Pokemon card.
Yeah, and you get the Raichu.
Yeah,
you get two Raichus though. You got the Lieutenant Surge's Raichu, but then you have the Jasmine's Raichu too. And obviously, I'm a stickler, so I like the Lieutenant Surge's Raichu because he's more like doing the attack, where Jasmine's Raichu just seems like he's lost in the field. But I love like that hand-drawn artwork that's for her card opposed to the Lieutenant Surge's Raichu sweet. Like, we're not fooling anyone, but they're both cool cards.
Yeah, I mean, they both highlight like these subset. They did like subsets within the set. Mm-hmm. So this Raichu and having this kind of like 70s trippy,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Distorted, like proportions are distorted a little bit. There's a subset of that you can put in a binder and have a lot of fun with because it comes together. Or maybe you want the Raichu, both the Raichus together. And like this attacking art is another subset. But so like I was saying, here's like this trippy 70s subset. And the colors aren't as vibrant on this presentation, but they're beautiful in person. The Butterfree here, these flowers, there's a vibe to it. There's definitely a vibe. Like this Ladian, the image quality isn't superb right here, but just trust me, it's an awesome, it vibes a lot. I like it a lot.
Yep.
And you got Beedrill. This Magneton's kind of trippy, but Espeon, there's multiple Espeons in this set. And you got kind of like a larger proportion head here, but I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. Got Whitney's Milk Tank. Just wanted to point that out there. Happy looking Whitney. And this one was a GIF. It's too bad I couldn't get it in there, but I literally quit the game when we hit Milk Tank. I got so frustrated, I quit for like a long time before coming back and trying to beat the game. I don't know if you remember that.
I think that was a lot of people getting smoked by the rollout by Milk Tank.
Oh my God. So you got evolutions in this set. So talk about value, talk about fun. You got Flareon, Jolteon, Espeon, and then obviously Karen's Umbreon, which is one of the best Umbreons of all time. I love that Umbreon.
Yep.
Yeah, some people saying rollout was a nightmare. Get back to it, but you got a clay set. There's some people don't like it. I know Pete Dad didn't like it at all, but it's a pretty cool clay set.
Well, yeah. I'm on the fence with the clay cards. Like, I don't love them, but I don't hate them either.
It's pretty cool. Like, yeah. I don't think it's anything special.
It's just it's wild though to think about that the artworks change so drastically throughout the set, because the thing about this set too, which I think I've heard this in the past, is that every single card in this set was one artist was like, so one artist was picked for each gym leader's artwork. with the exception of like, I think like the Brock maybe has a different one, but for the exception of that, like every gym leader had their own artist. So like for like the Jasmine, that's why like that Pikachu is very similar to the Magneton and stuff like that, and very similar to, yeah. So
I
it's
see
all
what
the
you're
same.
saying.
So it's all the same artist per gym leader.
Okay. So then it's just kind of coincidence that like I view these as kind of trippy. I wonder if they gave them any kind of
So that,
template.
yeah, well, your Jasmine cards, you got the Jasmine's Raichu, the Jasmine's Magneton, the Electric Buzz, and the Jolteon. That's why they all have that same feel to it. And then like the Ampharos, the Steelix, there's a couple of them.
Yeah. And it's just because like Whitney's like this kind of background here. These backgrounds all kind of flow together. They do. I mean, when you put them back to back,
Yeah.
just like a paletted background like that. But they are different artists then.
Yep.
So Grails. I mean, Scizor, this is not without a doubt the best scissor, like one of the best scissor cards. I personally think it's the Grail. This is probably your only Murkrow.
Murkrow Hollow, you mean?
Murkrow Hollow.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's no other Murkrow Hollows that exist except for Versus Series.
Right. So if you're a Murkrow collector, I consider that a Grail.
Yeah.
And so I think this is Clay, the Steelix.
I'm not sure.
Well, so it's the same artist doing it, right?
Yeah.
There's the balls, just like in here. I'm pretty sure this is the only Clay Hollow ever.
Yeah, so the Bruno Steelix is the same as, so you got the Bruno's Machamp, Bruno's Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Bruno's Steelix, Bruno's Ursaring, Hitmontop. Yeah, so those are all the same artists. So yeah, the Steelix was the same artist as the other Claymation ones.
So to my knowledge, there's no other Claymation Hollow ever. This would be the only one.
Okay.
To my knowledge. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Karen's Umbreon. But the attacking arts are sick. Like there's literally, we can go back to this evolution here. Flareon doing Fire Spin, Confusion Ray, Typhlosion looks badass here. He's doing like some kind of Fire Spin, some kind of flamethrower or something. Beedrill has action. That Raichu had action. I like the attacking arts a lot. Yes. There's movement in the card, and I don't know. It's fun to look at. Here's another attacking art. Yeah. So Gengar licking. Gyarados. This one's a little doofy, but there's other Gyarados in here that are awesome cards. But Blizzard from Articuno. To me, I picture this is what the virtual reality Pokemon game is going to look like one day. You're going to have Articuno like up above you, blizzarding, and then all of our Pokemon cards are going to go stomps to the moon. Rapidash. This is just a great Rapidash artwork, regardless of attack. Ninetales. I don't know. What do you think about this set?
I think artwork wise, it's one of the best artworks ever.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I mean,
even like the fact that the Blaine's Charizard and the Blaine's Aerodactyl, and the fact that those aren't hollows too, I think it doesn't detract from the set in the slightest,
No, and in fact,
it's weird when you have a set that the chases are not always the hollows, right? Like where you could have a chase of any card. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is a subset.
Yeah.
To me. What do they call this? Mason actually it's like the where the wild things are. Yeah, he put it in tonight's chat too. Yeah, the where the wild things are subset. This is where the wild things are. I love it. I was calling it etched pattern, but I just think this is awesome. Aerodactyl, that's such a cool Aerodactyl card. Gyarados, Charizard. I mean, the Charizard is a little expensive, but what I like about how awesome this non-hollow, all these non-hollow cards are, is that it is cheaper, right? The Charizard has since stonked since about a year ago, but very fun set. This is one of the best binder sets to have.
Yeah, it's definitely a cheap set though. If you want to complete it, it's very doable for, especially the timeline too, 2001 when the set came out. Like, it's still very vintage.
Yeah, and I'm curious if Dan's in the chat tonight. I remember he said he was getting in a set in the mail and he was going to check it out for the first time. So I wondered if he got that. Okay, come on.
Yeah, legendary dogs too.
Come on, dude. Raikou, Entei. I love this Entei. This Raiku's great. Now these are hollows, so you need to go. Anyone that would like to follow up on these, try to search these in a video, because it takes it to a whole new level when you're actually getting not a scanned image. Check these out. These are awesome. Like if you like Shiny Suicune, baby Shiny Suicune, you're gonna like this Suicune.
Definitely. Yeah, this set is just sick. And that's it.
A lot quicker this time.
Yeah. But no, I loved it. I loved it when you did the presentation originally on Professor Oak's channel, and I was like, oh, we gotta do the same presentation on this one.
No, I love that set. That's another set of cards I probably won't ever get rid of, because there's no point.
Oh, you definitely shared the Zoom link at the end, so let's hope people don't jump on.
I think they'd have to like type out that whole thing, don't you think? I didn't realize that when you finished a presentation, it was gonna like show up. So
that's all right. I enabled the waiting room, so nobody can just hop on.
Anyway, sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, just don't let them in.
But no, I appreciate you putting that together again and talking, and I appreciate you coming on the channel, man. It's always a lot of fun. I know the first time you came on, I wanted to bring somebody on that was like, I wanted to do a debate against like CGC, and I wanted to bring somebody on that was pro CGC, but I didn't want to like bring you on just to debate you all the time. I wanted to bring you on and just have a conversation. So I feel like today I've definitely accomplished that. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I regretted how it was on that live with you, not to make any excuses. So you hit me up like the day before, and because that CGC report had come out.
Yep.
And I had just gotten home. I was eating during that, which I don't regret. I needed to eat, but I just regretted, like some people were saying, oh, he's so nonchalant or he doesn't care. And it's like, well, I don't want to come off as I don't care. Right. I mean, a lot of my responses were like, what are we going to do? Complain about it? There's nothing we can do about it. And that was not, I think that was, I did wish that I had done a better job of explaining maybe why or something. I don't know. I just remember regretting. I was like, yeah, I probably could have cared more, but I also wasn't really, I don't know. I just gotten home and.
Yeah, no, I'm not even worried about that. I just,
all right, cool.
I'm happy we got to like have this conversation and, be able to pick your brain and, do that whole, quality versus quantity conversation, which I really enjoyed. And then talking about like managing time in this hobby right now, and how do you manage time with all these different TCGs going on, and being able to talk about like moving into finally what it feels to be a healthy hobby versus a hobby that was very irrational for a little bit of time. And I think maybe you're not saying it, but I think you do get a little bit of, you personally, you do, if you wanted to, could tell people like I told you so. I know you're not that type of person, but like you definitely have your moment now. So it's pretty awesome. And
I just hope those people are still here for me to tell them so if I wanted to.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I think that's good too, that's what your wish is, that people continue to grow in this hobby and continue to get better. Because this thing about Pokemon and the thing about Marvel and whatever, TCG somebody might be into, is no one, and I mean this, no one could acquire all the information on everything by themselves. It's impossible. Like, and even if you could, in a hypothetical, gather all that information alone, like Pokemon, like the big thing about Pokemon is like going on that journey, man, and going on the journey with people 10 out of 10 times is better than doing it by yourself. So
I went 6 years, didn't know anyone in the hobby. I thought E4 was a relic. I thought it was like I didn't know anything about blogs. I thought it was like a dead blog site.
yeah.
It wasn't on the Discords or nothing. So 2020 was great because it's funny, I spent 6 years buying and selling Pokemon cards, not knowing anyone. And now I've spent 2 years not buying any Pokemon cards. And I know everyone, it feels like, I have a lot of friends in the hobby, and I can't wait to meet you all at Denver Collecticon.
And I will be at Denver Collecticon for everybody out there. And if you haven't booked your plane tickets, I would recommend looking at prices now, because I booked a round trip ticket for like a little over $200, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anytime you can do round trip tickets for $200, I think you hit that buy button. This is not financial advice. That's the big caveat all the PokeTubers we got to do. But all right, man. Well, I appreciate it. And you got any final words you want to say to anybody?
Just that I see everyone in the chat and that I love all you guys.
Hey, do me a favor. As soon as we sign off, if you could send me the link to your Marvel Discord, I'll add the link to that. So if anybody out there is more interested in Marvel and you want to reach out directly to Swammey, or you want to learn something, I recommend you guys join in that Discord. I know I'm going to join it tonight too. So if you just shoot me over the link, and I'll add that in the description of this video as soon as this video is over. So
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I that I see everybody in the chat, and yeah, love all you. And let me know if we're gonna hang out somewhere else.
We're hanging out in Denver. Trust me.
Okay.
All right, man. All right. And for everybody out there watching, I know I could say for myself, and I'm sure I could say for Swami on this one, we appreciate every single one of you guys watching, donating your time, communicating in the chat. You guys are the best. You guys are the reason why we do this. And for everybody else out there, we'll catch you on the next video.